It's gonna get better, never stay the same. It's gonna get better. It's gonna get better.
Hello and welcome to the Ericka James Show, where we are all about life on purpose. I have spent the last 30 years of my life leading and guiding thousands of people to become the fullness of who they were created to be. And on the show, I get to unleash, I love that word, I get to unleash all of my years of transformational work, speaking and training. And I'm so excited. We're going to talk about unleashing this prophetic gift of mine to be able to help you access the fullness of who you were created to be and then boldly take action steps to build something extraordinary. I remember when this all started for me, I was about 12 years old. I had a journal. It was my very first journal. I was so excited. I remember going to the bookstore and buying it, and I had kept this poem. And I wrote this poem in my journal. It was the very first thing in it. It said something like this: "You are unique. In all the history of the world, there has never been anyone quite like you, and there will never be anyone like you." In my 12-year-old mind, I actually believed that. And I said, wait a minute. That means that I need to spend some time in my life figuring out what makes me unique. And I committed myself to answering two questions. Who am I? And what was I created to do? That's what this show is all about, walking this out. I envision a world where we are all living fully on purpose. And I really think every single one of us can do this. I believe that the answers to the world's issues are inside of us. If only we can tap into our greatness, that genius, that amazingness inside of you, we have the power to solve things. We have the power to create solutions. That's what we're going to be talking about. So stick with me, because today's show is all about the art of self-love. Now, in order to tell you, I'm standing here looking all cute, trying to tell you about this, but I have to go back. I have to go back. I grew up out in Washington State and was often racial bullied. I remember trying to make it to school, on my way to school and from school, going, okay, if I could just make it home without getting rocks and sticks thrown at me. And that did something to me on the inside. And I remember thinking, something must be wrong with me. And then I would get home to my amazing family where we weren't even allowed, really, I'm telling you the truth, this is going to sound hokey, but we were not allowed to say can't in my house. If we started a sentence or had the word can't in it, my parents would literally stop us and say, now go back and start again. You can do it. You can do anything. So I had lived in this dichotomy that as soon as I stepped out of the door, my self-esteem would plummet. And I came home and it was built up. But those years of bullying that I know so many of us go through, they actually gave me a little bit of tough skin, soft heart, so we can walk this thing out. But it took a hit on my self-esteem. It took a hit on my self-love. And I remember getting into student leadership at a young age. It was actually my sister who said, you have a gift. I think you need to go into student leadership. And I remember being absolutely terrified because I had to go give a speech in front of the same people that used to bully me. And I thought, I was too scared to run for president. So my safety zone, I was like, I'll run for vice president. And at that time, out in Washington State, we were switching from elementary school to junior high. And so I thought, there'll be kids from other schools there. This is going to be a clean slate. And I started to realize something, but it was still only on the outside. I started to realize that, wait a minute, I'm speaking, I'm talking, people are listening, people are responding. This is so exciting. But there was still this kind of mental talk and negativity going on in my head. I thought it was just a quirk, really, because I was still the little girl who got bullied every day. And so I was about 18 years old, leaving for college. And I thought, I am going to go have a new start. It's going to be awesome. And I went up to a school just south of the Canadian border where I was, again, one of few, I call it the chocolate in the vanilla. I was just a few of the dots of chocolate in the vanilla. And I remember walking around that campus, and I would see another person that looked like me. We call each other sisters a lot, but I would see another sister, and we did what I call the 10-yard look away. So I would see her coming, she would see me coming, but when we came together, we would look down and we would pass each other. And I thought, they're going through the same thing I'm going through. I'm going to start doing something about this. While I'm on my journey and I didn't know anything but to call it self-love, I'm going to bring as many people with me who want to come. So in college, in addition to my schoolwork, I would get us together and say, hey, you all, we're all suffering with the same stuff. I know you grew up like I grew up. We were not affirmed, you know, when you're looking outside of yourself for that identity. But it triggered something in me. And when I transferred colleges, I took the work with me and found out, wait a minute, this isn't just me. This isn't just the women at my first college. This is like epidemic. And when you look at the statistics, 81% of women do not love themselves. Their self-confidence struggles. And when you look at a global view, the statistic is literally 90% of the globe. People around the world struggle with self-confidence. Self-confidence is critical, but there's even something that comes before self-confidence. It's self-esteem. Self-esteem is the value that you place in yourself. And then you go from self-esteem to self-confidence. What's your opinion of yourself? What is your perception of yourself? And then once your self-confidence is tight, then we start going to self-love. Now, what is your adoration for yourself? How do you feel about who you are? Do you appreciate yourself? So think of self-love as your level of appreciation for yourself. That begins to capture where your self-love is. So in order to get to self-love, we first have to go through that step of self-esteem. And self-esteem is the value that you have in yourself. What is the value you place on yourself? Then we move to self-confidence. And self-confidence really is your level of acceptance of yourself. You know how it is when your self-talk's going off. You're telling yourself what's wrong. You're telling yourself what needs to be fixed. We're always looking at what we don't have, what we're missing. But then you move from self-confidence when that starts to get solid, and you move to self-love. And that is your level of appreciation for yourself. I don't mean arrogance at all. I don't want you to get me wrong. I'm talking about just that quiet power that we have to walk in when we love ourselves, when we are self-confident, and when we have self-esteem. What if we could wake up every day, know who we are, love who we are? Life begins to change. We stop looking outside of ourselves for somebody to, am I okay? Will you love me? Am I lovable? Ooh, I know that one. Oh, I had so much self-work to do about I'm lovable, I am enough. So if nobody has told you today, I want you to know that you're not just enough, you are more than enough. So it's about uncovering that self-esteem, uncovering that self-confidence, uncovering that self-love. And I really, really believe when we get there, we can start to uplift one another and we will see the world change. So I can talk about this all day long, but I want to give you specific steps that we can walk in. I call them power steps. So stay with me because in the next segment, I'm going to give you 3 power steps that you can implement and change your life. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Ericka James Show. Today we are talking about the art of self-love. We're going to talk about power steps, but first I want to just talk about how do we know where our self-esteem is? How do we know where our self-confidence is? Do we love ourselves? So I want to talk about a few signs of low self-esteem. And I even hate to call it low, but I'd like to maybe say when we're struggling a little bit, when our self-esteem or self-confidence isn't as strong as it could be. One of them is oftentimes we can't have eye contact with people because we are processing something inside of ourselves that says, ooh, I'm not good enough. Another huge sign, and this is between you, yourself, and you, is your self-talk. What is your self-talk saying? Sometimes we talk worse to ourselves than we would ever allow someone else to talk to us. And so I really want to challenge, what is your self-talk? Are you edifying yourself? Are you speaking highly of yourself? Are you having self-deprecating conversations? Early on, when I was a single mom struggling, I joined an entrepreneurs group out in Seattle when I lived there. And one of our rules was literally no self-deprecating talk allowed. And we would literally call each other on it. So make sure you start calling yourself on that self-deprecating talk. Another sign, we lose our voices. We don't say the things that we want to say. Or if we're frustrated or upset or angry, we tend to not speak. We'll hold it within, and it goes within, and it is in there doing something to the insides of our soul that diminishes us. Another sign is oftentimes we don't believe in ourselves. We really don't think we can do it. And so oftentimes we don't even want to talk about purpose because I don't think I can do it. And the list goes on, but those are some real keys that you might be able to say, hey, Ericka, I call myself EJ, so you can call me EJ. Hey, EJ, I think I have a little work to do. I promised us some power steps. And so we're going to talk about 3 power steps. So wherever your self-esteem is, or your self-confidence, or your self-love is, we can elevate it. I call it up-leveling. So power step number 1, realize that you are unique. I started working on this years ago, and I have to tell you a funny story. You ready? This is when I discovered I had issues around this. I thought, I had been in student leadership. I thought I was doing something. And I went on a date in my early 20s, and I'm sitting at wherever we were. It was like some bar or restaurant with the gentleman that I had a crazy crush on. And I was literally telling him, I know who I am. And he was an older gentleman, so I wanted to be impressive. And I'll never forget. He says, well, who are you? And I was stuck on stupid. You ever been stuck on stupid? Where you just like nothing was coming. And so I just sat there and went, whoa, I have work to do. That night, I went out and got another journal. I've been a big journaler. And I started to keep a list. What makes me who I am? I could not think of more than about 5 things the first time I tried that exercise. And I challenged myself to make that list to 100 different qualities and characteristics that I carried, that I embodied. And it took me about 3 months, if I could tell the truth. A little embarrassing, but it took me about 3 months to get to 100 things that I could name, that I could tap into myself. And I continued to work on that list and work on that list. So it's not just about realizing that you're unique. I really want you to do the work. Get clear about what makes you you. And so step 2, write it down. I want you to write it down. If you don't have a journal, I don't care. Use some lined paper, scratch paper, recycled paper, whatever you need, but I want you to start writing it down. What makes you unique? If you didn't look back at your past experience, if you really started to go within, what makes you you? Sometimes you need to start answering that by, what are you not? Who are you not anymore? Maybe in your teenage years, you struggled with things you're not struggling with now. So who are you not? And that can sometimes help you identify who are you. And then power step number 3, I love this one. Spend quality time with yourself. When I was telling the story when I went to college and the women couldn't even edify each other, we were looking down on each other, looking down on ourselves in each other's presence, I developed a series of self-love principles. I was 18 because I needed help in this area. And one of the principles was never expect somebody to spend more time with you than you're willing to spend with yourself. Pooh, did you get that? That's a drop the mic moment. I'm going to say it again. Never expect someone else to spend more time with you than you're willing to spend with yourself. I remember at that time in my life, I couldn't even go to a restaurant by myself. I couldn't go to a movie by myself because I thought people are looking at me. They're going to think less of me. Something's wrong with me. And I just started pressing myself out of my comfort zone. I was totally committed to becoming something more, something greater. And so I really struggled with that. And so I want you to start spending quality time with yourself, better known as a date. I want you to take yourself on a date. Where's that great restaurant you've been wanting to go? And you've been waiting for someone to ask you or a friend to go with? I want to challenge you. get dressed up and go out and have your date and see what's happening in terms of your self-love, in terms of how you're sitting there, how comfortable are you? Are we perceiving people watching us? Oh my goodness. But just spend some quality time with yourself. When was the last time you went on a walk? Not to exercise, although that's fabulous, don't get me wrong, but just to spend time with yourself. When was the last time you just wrote yourself a love letter? I used to do that. I would go and buy a beautiful card and I would write myself a love letter. Everything I wish somebody would say to me, I would write myself a love letter. And this is what I did. I literally wrote myself a love letter. And this is where I would put it. I set it on my breakfast counter. So everybody who came in my house, they read my love letter to myself. And the other thing I want to encourage you to do is to write affirmations to yourself. Take a listen to that self-talk. What's really going on? And I actually will tell you, write that down. I'm not good enough. I don't find myself beautiful. Whatever that is. And I want you to come up with your very own unique affirmation and declaration around that. That reverses it. No matter where you are, if you've rejected any part of yourself, write something about that self, that part of yourself so you can bring it forward. And I post them all over the place. I have them in my office. When I'm working on a new belief about myself, I post them in the bathroom, wherever. I don't care who sees it, because I figure if it uplifts me, it's going to uplift somebody else. So write that declaration down. It actually uplifts people. Whatever you're working on, that next level, and whatever it's going to take, it helps you click in to that remembrance. Wait a minute, we're changing that belief about ourselves. So did you get the power steps? Number 1, realize that you are unique. Number 2, get clear about what makes you you. Don't just think about it. Write it down. Write those affirmations. Write those declarations. And number 3, take yourself on a date night. Do something great in a beautiful afternoon. Buy yourself some flowers. But spend time with yourself. So those are the power steps. I want you to take these to heart, to actually start implementing them. And if you're like, Ericka, I got this, then I want you to think of your own power steps that will take you to your next level of your purpose, of yourself, of your destiny, and of your extraordinary. So when we come back, you all, I'm going to loose and open up my prophetic gift. We're actually going to have a live prophetic session, and it is going to be great. You're going to get to meet Rita and hear a little bit about her questions, about her purpose, and how she can up-level her life. And I hope it's a blessing to you. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Today's show is all about the art of self-love. And I am so excited to share one of my gifts with you today. It's really the gift of the prophetic. If you're not familiar with the gift of the prophetic, it really is a gift from God with the ability to clearly hear His voice, hear His heart. And I love just sharing this gift with people so they can access their purpose, know where they are in what season, and then be able to make strategic alignments to make sure they're on track. I really knew years ago that I had this gift, but it really took a friend of mine telling me that this prophetic gift was going to come. And he's a prophet. Sure enough, it started to open up. So if you're not familiar with it, it's okay. And I almost didn't put it out there on the show. I was like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. Then I remembered the mediums and the psychics do it. Why can't we lead and put the prophetic out there so people can experience the amazing gift that it is when you get to tap in and know that you are on track? Or if you're off track, you can get back on track. So right now we're going to actually take a look at a live prophetic session with Rita. And Rita had good questions for me to just better understand, okay, where am I? Where did I get off track? And how can I get back on? So take a look. All right. Hello, Rita. I'm so glad you're on with me today. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes to this wonderful prophetic adventure. Because the one thing I love about the prophetic, I don't really know where people are going to go. I don't know what God's going to say. I just get to come as a yielded vessel through the Holy Spirit and hear what the Lord says. One of the things that I carry the gift of, I'm not exactly sure why, but I thank God for it, is really being able to access what Psalms 139 calls our book of life, that book of purpose, that book that is your, what I call heavenly blueprint. And so excited to hear what your questions are and how I might be of service to help you with whatever it is that your heart desires. You're pretty accustomed to the prophetic, I'm thinking, but have you had prophetic words before?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay, got it. Beautiful. Well, I'm ready for your questions.
Throughout my career, I've really been in like cutting edge positions, either in countries or circumstances. And the last year and a half, that has really dried up. And I've been just working in temporary employment, trying to find my way. And so, Ericka, I'm really excited because I feel like your prophetic destiny is very timely. Yeah, I'm just looking to find out what's next or what the holdups are.
Okay.
If I was to have a spiritual mentor, what does that look like?
Okay. So interesting. The Lord is showing me that He's used you a lot to heal people emotionally, mentally, physically, that you've been a vessel for His healing. And this is a season that it's the desires of your heart. It feels like you've been yielded to people, you know, what they need you to do, what that position holds for you. And this is a season that you're living from a different place. And as I was getting ready to log on today, I saw and heard no more wounded little girl. I'm not sure what that means, but no more wounded little girl. Like this, all of that is that season is over, whatever that is, whatever that was. And now it's time for you to really be able to believe in yourself and to live from a place of choosing. And creating. The Lord said not just choosing, but creating, not choosing what other people bring you, but choosing and creating what He's placed in your heart. And He said that He's put ideas in your heart over the years. Like you have some ideas that He's been kind of dropping, some seeds He's been dropping to give you some ideas. So the Lord is showing me an exercise He had me do years ago when I was getting clear about what was my next in my life at that time. And He said, I want you to write a job description for yourself. And He had me write a job description. And He said, if you can make money any way you choose how, what would it be? And He's giving me that exercise. He wants you to do it because you served so well. This isn't a season to serve others. This is the season to serve the wisdom that God has placed with you and what you have collected and get it out to the people. And the Lord said it is not too late, that He's put so much in you that He wants out to people. He's showing me that you have been very courageous, like you have lived a courageous life. And people don't know it. And it's time to bring and ignite people's courage and their fearlessness. You plan, but you minimize the risk, but then you take the step in this fearless, courageous way. And this trusting way. The Lord showed me you just stepping out and trusting Him. And He really needs you to help people get there because they're missing it. So I see you writing, I see you speaking, and there is a healer about you. And I was getting this image of you sitting like on a radio show or a podcast. People were calling in, people were sharing things with you. And you were sitting there just like, oh, well, this is what you need to do. And you were just spouting wisdom. And then the Lord said that you are a receptacle, a receiver of stories. You have so many stories that people have told you over the years that you just know when to pull on the right story that helps people for their breakthrough. The Lord said you're a breakthrough specialist, Rita. You really are a breakthrough specialist. It's just your breakthrough in this season. And He's showing me that people, it looks very casual and you could take it for granted, but you've been in an office or you're sitting in some place and people just come up and start talking to you and you offer them a couple of things, tell them a story, and they know exactly what to do. They know exactly what to do. The wisdom in you, it is a gift from God. You have an extra measure
Cool.
of wisdom. There is wisdom that we gather along life's journey, and then there is supernatural wisdom. And you carry an extra measure of supernatural wisdom. And the Lord wants you to get that wisdom out because it's His. He said that we've lost our wisdom. We've lost our wisdom. We've lost our wise ways. And it's so important. He said, you're very wise. You're very level-headed. You're very meticulous. Methodical is the word I'm looking for. You're very methodical in how you do things. And you have plans for people. I'm seeing you with this bag having blueprints. Like, here's the treasure map, how you get out of that situation. Here's a map for that. And, oh, I have a story here. This is what this person did. And you're supposed to do something with this. You are supposed to write. You are supposed to speak. And you are supposed to be intentional about sharing the healing gift that you carry, specifically around emotional, and like you are a healer of mental illness also. Like, I see people having conversations with you and their pathways are mixed up, or it's not quite straight. They have a conversation with you and then they leave with clarity. And you really do have a gift of mental healing, which we know the world needs that right now. Do you have acting in your past? I see you being actually this dramatic part of you that hasn't gotten to come out and play that much.
So not really acting, but I've done a lot of training, like staff trainings.
Okay.
I was in HR, and in different countries where I've been, I've always trained people on policies. And so I'm very comfortable getting in front of groups. I was just working for Census and trained a bunch of enumerators, and so I'm very comfortable in that setting.
Yeah. And I see you just come like lighting up, like, just, is that Rita? Like, yeah, like just doing your thing. But this time it's your turn.
Okay.
This time it's your turn. He said that you're a very good information gatherer. You're very curious. So you'll spend this time getting to know what you need to know.
Okay.
But it's a different one. But that job description, he's showing me the job description again. Go back and create it for yourself. It is still a cutting edge career. It's just Rita this season.
Great. I worked in human resources for 15 years, so I'm so familiar with I can't tell you how many job descriptions I've written.
Oh, okay.
So that is an awesome connection. I'm like, yeah, I got that.
Okay. But yeah.
Okay.
It's just put structure to your time.
Okay.
You're not looking outside of yourself anymore. You're bringing your jewels out from the inside out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. And it is a company. Like, it's a for real thing. This isn't a hobby. This is work it like a company.
Thanks. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, keep me updated.
I sure will.
All right, my darling.
Okay. I'll start writing again.
Yeah. Good. By all means, there's urgency to that.
Okay.
So keep me updated and I'll circle back around and we will talk very soon. Thank you so much for being
Ericka, thank you. All right.
All right. Talk to you soon, Rita.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye. I hope that was a blessing to you and you got to glean some things from that session and see how powerful it can be, how impactful the prophetic can be. And really want to just remind you to spend that quality, quiet time with yourself and begin to ask questions about who you are and what you were created to do. Because it's inside of you, just like it's inside of me. So I want to just end today and remind you that you are extraordinary. You are amazing. And there is something in you that the world needs. Your genius, your know-how, your expertise. And remember that I'm here to walk every step along the way with you. So you cannot just feel extraordinary, be extraordinary, but actually build something big that's going to make an extraordinary impact. I'll see you next time.